Hello everybody, my name is Cody Bray, bringing us yet another video, and in today's video, we're continuing the tier list stuff for the D&D classes, where I also just kind of give useful information, I guess. Last time, well, a really long time ago actually at this point, I'd finished the Paladin, and then quite recently I actually just went over and did the Paladin overview, so you will be able to go check that out with a couple of other videos that have come out recently. But today we're going to be going over the Ranger, who I believe all of those are on here, but it might be missing one or two. Yeah, Swarmkeeper. Swarmkeeper actually might have just come out recently. I don't remember the Swarmkeeper from a while ago, but to be fair, I also don't just like focus on the Ranger. Ranger's a little lower in my to pick list, honestly. No, nothing against it. I just don't play Ranger a lot. But yeah, I will be going over just only the only information that I'm going over is stuff to do with the Ranger's subclasses. So don't expect me to be giving in like too much information on the Ranger itself. I'm not looking over any of this stuff right here. I'm not going over any of that. That is all just up in the air for now, at least until I make the video on the overview overall, despite the fact that it would definitely be smarter to make the overview and then the subclasses, but to be fair, not gonna do it. I didn't do it originally, and I don't feel like changing up the formula now, so is it smarter? Yes, I know it is, so don't tell me it is, I already know. But I've already, done it this way this many times, so I'm just gonna keep doing it this way until I finish. I've got Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. Wizard. It's gonna be fun. But for now, let's hop into the Ranger subclasses, where we'll start with the Beastmaster, which is one of the OG ones, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of the very original ones, and if I'm not mistaken, this is also the one that got a rework, because it actually used to be really, really bad. So they had to change it in Tasha's guide, I believe. They changed it to be a lot better, I think. Could be mistaken. Quote me on it. So, at 3rd level, you gain a beast companion that accompanies you on your adventures and is trained to fight alongside you. Choose a beast that is no larger than medium and that has a challenge rating of quarter or lower. Add your proficiency bonus to the beast's AC, attack rolls, and damage rolls, as well as to any saving throws and skills it is proficient in. Its maximum hit points, its hit points maximum equals the hit point number in its stat block or 4 times your ranger level, whichever is higher. Reading is not my strong suit. Like any creature, it can spend hit dice during a short rest to regain hit points. The beast obeys your commands as best as it can. It takes its turn on your initiative. On your turn, you can verbally command the beast where to move. No action required by you. You can use your action to verbally command it to attack, dash, disengage, or help. If you don't issue a command, the beast takes the dodge action. Once you have the extra attack feature, you can make one weapon attack yourself with when you command the beast to take the attack action. If you are incapacitated or absent, the beast acts on its own, focusing on protecting you and itself. The beast never requires your command to use its reaction, such as when making an opportunity attack. While traveling through your favorite terrain with only the beast, you can move stealthily at a normal pace. If the beast dies, you can obtain a new companion by spending 8 hours magically bonding with a beast that isn't hostile to you and that meets the same requirements. So you essentially get a fairly strong animal. I don't know every single animal that you can choose from. I don't know what all are quarter level or lower, which is basically like quarter, eighth, and I think there's a very, very few, if any, that are 0 rating. Maybe like some like dog or cat or some like basic ones like that. But you can basically choose, wolf would be a good one. I don't know if bear is low enough. Bear might be. I think bear is because at least it was in critical role. But to be fair, they could have bent the rules. I don't know. But you could be like wolf, bear. Probably not anything that dyers, but something strong like that could definitely be helpful. Early on, like once you at level 3 and level 4, it's not too good as you basically always want to be attacking with your bow as ooh, excuse me. Ooh. On average, your bow does like a d8 of damage plus, 4. Let's say, you do a d8 plus 4. That's an average of 8 or 9 damage every time. I mean, you're hitting pretty hard by yourself, and that's also if you don't, you're basically going to cast Hunter's Mark no matter what, because that's always going to be extremely advantageous to you. for extra damage when you're in like big combat for things, not like one really easy to kill enemy or something, but like 5 enemies and you have a part like multiple enemies or like one really strong enemy, you'll always just hunt your mark so that you can deal the extra damage. So there's not really a point where your beast will be actively doing anything unless like you ran out of ammo at the time, maybe, but not too much there. But then once you get to 5th level, where you do get the extra attack, that is actually going to start being really helpful because then you can order your animal to like you can make the attack action, and then if you can have your beast do something as well. Also, not needing an action to tell it to move, so it has its own movement stuff. You don't need to like, oh, my action is telling it to move. It can move, and then you can use your action to tell it to attack as long as you made the attack action. Or technically, it has to make the attack action, and then you can make the attack action, vice versa. It doesn't really matter. So it is actually pretty cool. I don't know how often this one will really come up, because there's probably not too often that you go through your favorite terrain with just your beast. Usually you will be with your team, unless you have like completely left the area, or I mean if you're a forest, then you're probably okay at that point, because you can often go into the forest alone without needing your team if you want to like real quick at the middle of the night go and search and stuff, but not too often. Next at 7th level is Exceptional Training. On any of your turns when your beast companion doesn't attack, you can use the bonus action to command the beast to take the dash, disengage, or help action on his turn. In addition, the beast attack now counts as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. So, a lot of the times you probably don't have anything you want to do as pure ranger. Maybe if you're like ranger rogue, so you can take the hide action yourself, but on average, you don't have a lot of stuff to be doing with your bonus action. So getting to be able to have like yourself go in, shoot 2 attacks, and then potentially get like your bear to go up to something, or technically, I don't think the help action can be used to give you advantage on anything. But if it could, like advantage on the attacks or something, but if it can, that could be really strong. Or at least you can have it go and like run over to an ally and start helping with like flanking bonus. So you can have like you can attack 2 times, have your animal go over to an enemy, and then your rogue can get sneak attack because of flanking. So you can really help out with that, or you can have the bear go over and like move something out of the way once you're on another turn probably. But it actually is pretty good at this point. Could it have, and then this part, could have been better, this area, maybe, but this actually is still pretty strong to start using your bonus action, because rangers don't have too much for that. And then Exceptional Training on this part for it, where your beast can count as magical damage with its attacks, is extremely strong, because, by this level, by level 7 and especially higher, lots and lots and lots of enemies are going to start resisting non-magical attacks. So if you can start forcing magical attacks and having this ability to make them magical, same with like Monk's ability to do it, it is extremely helpful, because then they can start, harrying foes here and there. And if you have like I don't think there's any quarter level or lower beasts that can hit multiple times with one attack, but if there is, then you could like hit a whole like a group of enemies if there's like a couple of smaller enemies. It definitely would be really helpful then. Next up is at level 11, which is Bestial Fury. When you command your beast companion to take the attack action, the beast can make 2 attacks, or it can take the multi-attack action if it has that action. So maybe at this point there actually is very low on something like that. It seems like it, at least if it says that. Perhaps a bear, if that is allowed, like a claw and then bite attack. But then the fact that you can have the attack, you can when you command it to take the attack action, it can make 2 attacks rather than just 1. So it can make 2 attacks, and then you can make your attacks. You can get 3 attacks on the turn. You can really start stacking damage at this point and just completely going in. Definitely is like slowly but surely getting better and better, but this is where the thing is that you're going to get to level 15 where on average, like the 13 to 15 range is probably where a lot of campaigns end, so it's good that it isn't a level 18 ability, or like a level 17 or something. It is level 15, so there is a chance that like you'll be getting this at the very end of the campaign. So it has to be basically the end capstone of the subclass. It needs to be really good, so this has to also be good enough that like this is the thing that you've waited this entire time for. And it is that when you cast a spell targeting yourself, you can also affect your beast companion with the spell if the beast is within 30 feet of you. So the thing is that you have to cast it on yourself. Like healing would be able to do it because you can heal yourself and your beast. Um, if there's like a buff spell that a ranger could get, but I don't know if there's any buff spell that a ranger would put on themselves that would also be really good on a beast, because you probably wouldn't be like buffing like your physical strength or something, maybe a movement speed. If you cast haste on yourself, if rangers get haste, then you could really start doing stuff. If because then I think that technically means that when you take the you give the attack action to your beast, it technically gets a haste attack as well? Question mark. So that means that it could potentially attack 3 times when you tell it to attack, and then you can attack 2 times, which really starts doing a lot there. But off the top of my head, I don't know if any really, really strong buffing spells. So it kind of is like healing yourself and healing your animal at the same time. Is it good? Yes, it's actually really strong. Is it worth waiting until level 15 for? At the moment, because I don't know the spells that a ranger can get, especially at 15th level and, you know, later on, all the way like 20 if you get to that point. I don't know what spells a ranger can get, so I don't know if there's anything that is like, oh my god type of thing. That like, yo, I can buff me and this animal with it. If you can get haste, then this is extremely strong, but you gotta be within 30 feet of each other. And usually a ranger wants to stay away, but your beast can be like physical and up in the front, like up in the right there in front of enemies, attacking them and slashing at them and clawing them and stuff. Usually you don't want to be that close to enemies. You want to be a little bit further, so it's like a right at the start of the thing you can activate it and then send your beast away. But then if you need to heal both of you, either you have to bring the beast back or you have to run to the beast. So it could be good. I don't remember what the original one was. I do know that the fact that pretty sure this is the one that was changed after a while. I definitely would put this in nice. I feel like it's just missing something or another to put it up to great, because it is like, I get it that it's put like Beastmaster, it should be focusing on the beast, but it's the fact that you don't gain any benefits yourself, and if your beast dies, you're gonna have to find a beast that isn't hostile towards you, and then you have to wait 8 hours to get it to become your companion. And then the abilities, like, if you could somehow cause it to where, like, the animal was getting buffs as you leveled up to, like, you know, exceptional training, it, you know, like, you getting to use bonus action if you don't have it attack, and then, like, dash, disengage, and help are all right. But if you could have it as, like, you know, your companion, you know, is a hard, you know, with the training of the beast, it is a hardier fellow, and it can, you know, it gains more AC or it gains more health or something, so that it can live a bit longer. And then, you know, Bestial Fury is that, I mean, this Bestial Fury is good and still share spells, but share spells, like, I get why they can't say like when a spell is cast on you, you can also have it onto your bear, or your bear on your beast, because then, like, if your allies cast, like, you know, some like premonition, I think is what it's called, which is like an 8th or 9th level spell that basically gives you advantage on everything ever, it definitely would be super overpowered at that point, because then you're getting 2 characters who are getting at the same time. But then it's just the fact that I'm sure if I knew all the spells that a ranger could get at that point, I might place it higher, but even then, you're only getting the max of level 5, so, like, haste is your best action, and I don't even know if haste works to be able to give the beast a haste action to be able to attack again or something. So I don't know if that works in that way, unfortunately. Fey Wanderer, which is not on here, but I think Horizon Walker is. Yeah, Horizon Walker does exist. I think that's one that likes portals. So we will go with the Fey Wanderer, who at 3rd level would get Dreadful Strikes. You can augment your weapon strikes with mind-scarring magic drawn from the gloomy hollows of the Feywild. When you hit a creature with a weapon, you can deal an extra 1d4 psychic damage to the target, which can take this extra damage only once per turn. So it's not even just saying that and also a d6 when you get to 11. That's good. So it's not even just saying like, oh, once a turn you get to deal an extra d4 and later on an extra d6. It is with each unique enemy that you hit on a turn, it can you can deal the psychic damage, which means that yes, the same enemy can't take multiple on the same turn. So if you have, you know, when you have 2 attacks at level 5, You can't be like gaining this benefit to like stack like two attacks, get 2d4 2d6 extra damage on top of all the extra damage that you can be doing uh, as a whatchamacallit, as a Fey Wanderer ranger. But what it does do, which is actually really good, is it allows you to do this to each unique enemy on a turn. Because you can deal when you hit a creature with a weapon, you can deal an extra d4 psychic damage to the target, which can take this extra damage only once per turn. It is not saying once per turn you can deal this damage. It is each enemy can only be affected once per turn. So facing one enemy is alright. You get 1d4, 1d6 later on per turn. Facing multiple enemies, you're going to be able to start, stacking that damage on multiple enemies. So you kind of, rather than focusing on big game, you're going to be like spreading out your damage to multiple enemies around you, which is actually kind of good, especially because Fey Wanderer, you're kind of going after Fey creatures, which, a lot of times are like group enemies rather than like one big baddie, like like demons always kind of travel with one massive infernal creature, while Fey like to travel in packs a lot of the time. You also gain Fey Wanderer magic, which will give you, at 3rd level, you automatically gain Charm Person. 5th, you gain Misty Step. This is extremely strong. Charm Person is good, especially early on. Misty Step, super strong, as it allows you to use your bonus action to teleport. Dispel Magic, really good. Dimension Door, Mislead, all actually pretty good, especially for the levels they give. I mean, Mislead, I don't know if there was a better spell that they could have chose, but Mislead does fit into the Fey. And then you also gain a Feywild gift appearance thing, but that's just flavor, so it doesn't really matter too much. And you get one of these 3 things. You get a Deception, Performance, or Persuasion. You get to add to it. Your Fey qualities give you a supernatural charm. As a result, whenever you make a Charisma check, you gain a bonus to the check equal to your Wisdom modifier, minimum of 1. So, you choose like Deception or something, and now you're getting at minimum 1. Wisdom is, of course, usually your secondary stat, because that is your spellcasting. So you have a 4 in Dex, a 3 in Wisdom. At this point, you probably want to go either Constitution or Charisma. Constitution for HP and concentration checks. Charisma because this ability actually is going to help you out on any of these. So you actually, if you know you want to choose this one, you actually might want to also, if you can, choose Persuasion. I'll just check. Nope, can't. I didn't think so, but just in case you could. But now you can actually gain that if your Charisma is +1. You have a +3 Wisdom modifier. You're now getting a +4 to Deception checks just because you're wise about it. Actually, really good. All of this is at 1st level, or not 1st level, but 1st unlock. By the way, you're gaining the ability to deal extra damage to enemies, and multiple sometimes. The ability, you gain a extra proficiency, which is always strong, and you can add your Wisdom to any charisma check, not just if you're trained in it, like from this. It is any of them. Really good. And right off the bat, you'll gain Charmed Person, which, all in all, really good. Next is 7th level, which is Beguiling Twist. The magic of the Feywild guards your mind. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. Extremely powerful. You don't even need anything else, to be honest. But hey, you get more. In addition, whenever you or a creature you can see within 120 feet of you succeeds on a saving throw against being charmed or frightened, that's a pretty sizable distance, to be fair. You can use your action to force a different creature you can see within 120 feet of you to make a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. If the save fails, the target is charmed or frightened by you, your choice for a minute. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turn, ending the effect on itself on a successful save. So you can basically go, sorry dude, I'm not going to get scared by you because you made the save, and then go, but you're going to be afraid of me. So getting to basically no-you someone for charmed or frightened, which, if somebody is trying to charm you, it's probably outside of combat more often than not, I would say. There's some use of it in combat, but usually outside of combat. So you can basically go, somebody like trying to cast Charm Person on you, you can Charm Person them for free with your reaction, or at least attempt it just by saving it, or your ally saving it. So it's not even just you, it's an ally within 120 feet of you that you can see. And if somebody is trying to frighten you and you save against it, let's say you save against the fear condition but your ally doesn't, you can then, you made the save, so you can force the enemy to also need to make that save. If they fail it, they're afraid of you, so he's running away, which means that your ally are like running away from each other. Really funny looking thing. And it's actually just really strong at that point. and also just this beginning part of having advantage on saving throws against them. This is definitely looking to be extremely strong, as at level 7 you've become advantage. You have advantage on saving throws against them. Really good, actually. Next would be, yeah, definitely probably Fey Reinforcements. At level 11, you gain Fey Reinforcements. The Royal Courts of the Fey World have blessed you with the assistance of Fey beings. You know Summon Fey, so you get another free spell that doesn't count against your range of spell slots, and you can cast it without a material component. Okay. You can also cast it once without a spell slot. I mean, and you gain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. I mean, for free, you get the spell. Like, it doesn't count against your spells, the amount of spells you can know at a time. You can cast it without a material component all of the time, and once per day you can cast it without using a spell slot. Whenever you start casting the spell, you can modify it so it doesn't require concentration. If you do so, the spell's duration becomes 1 minute for that casting, which basically means that you can maintain concentration on something else that you might be doing, and you can then just have 1 minute of whatever you want to summon from the Fey, rather than however long. So if this is in combat, you basically, in combat, you say, I'm not going to have concentration on it, so I can maintain concentration on my Hunter's Mark or something for the extra damage. You can then summon whatever Fey creatures you want, and you just summon up so much. Like, that's so powerful, honestly. I can already tell you where this is going, man. At 15th level, as the Capstone, you get Misty Wanderer. You can slip in and out of the Feywild to move in a blink of an eye. You can cast Misty Step without expending a spell slot. I mean, that's just great there. Just being able to, even just one time use would still be really strong. I mean, not as a 15th level, but you can also do it a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier, which at this point is probably 4, maybe 5. So you get 4 Misty Steps a day for free. Not to mention that you naturally learn it from being a Fey Wanderer from Fey Wanderer magic. So you naturally have it, and it doesn't count against your spell slot, against your spells known. You can then, all the way up here, get to start casting it 4 times a day for free before you have to start casting your spell slot to do it. And in addition, whenever you cast Misty Step, you can bring along one willing creature you can see within 5 feet of you. The creature teleports to an unoccupied space of your choice within 5 feet of your destination space. You can grab your ally Misty Step 30 feet away, bringing them to safety, you and them out of harm's way to a nice safe place, or to a vantage point if you want to get to a vantage point, potentially, for free, potentially 4 times a day. Need I say more? This one isn't on here, but it is legendary. That is spectacular, as it allows you to deal, like, right off the bat, early on. What does it do? This one, you gain extra damage, which a D4 super, like, early on game, like level 3, a D4 is actually, pretty nice. You're dealing a D8 of damage plus 4, and now you're getting an extra D4 on top of that. That's pretty good. And then you can do it twice with the attack action later on. With extra attack, you're going to be able to start dealing, 2d4 on 2 separate enemies, of course. You can stack it, and then d6 later on. It's pretty good, actually, as it's literally free damage, and it's psychic damage, which is the second least resisted damage up in the game. Then you also gain 5 free spells throughout leveling up. Usually you probably won't get to Mislead, but you also don't need Mislead, because it isn't, like, expert level, but Charm Person, pretty good. Misty Step, great. Dispel Magic, great. Dimension Door, great. Feywild Gifts, this doesn't really matter. Otherworldly Glamour, I always say that gaining a proficiency in something is always good, and you can start using your Wisdom modifier on Charisma checks. Excellent. Getting to have advantage on Charm and Frightened saving throws, and you can use your reaction to basically know you people if you or your allies save within 120 feet of you. Fantastic. Getting to summon Fey for free once a day, and also just getting it as a spell for free. And you can never need a material component, and cast it without needing concentration. But it only lasts for a minute, great. Getting to use Misty Step multiple times a day for free, awesome. And Misty Step can now grab a teammate. There is no problem with this. This class is by far the best, the best subclass for this. I cannot think of a better Rangers. Maybe when I read over these ones, something can come up to make it better, but I don't see this being better. Like I said, like extra damage, movement, spells, protection, buffing, debuffing, advantage on stuff, ability, like a proficiency in something. I mean, what more could you ask for? Like, next up is the Gloom Stalker, which Gloom Stalker also gives you extra magic, which is always good. You get Disguise Self, actually pretty good, kind of underrated if you ask me. Rope Trick, kind of nice. Fear, good. Greater Invisibility, really good. Seeming, pretty good. So, not too bad on the spells. You get Dread Ambusher, which at 3rd level, you master the art of the ambush. You can give yourself a bonus to your initiative rolls equals to your wisdom modifier. So, you now get your dex and your wisdom. Your dex is 4, your wisdom is 3. You're getting a +7 to initiative. That's of course saying that you have, you're doing like that well for like well off on your stats. It could of course be like 3 and 2 or 3 and 1 or something, but that's still going to be way more than majority of enemies early on, and late game you're probably going to have like 5x4 if not higher from magical means. Also, if you take the alert feat, you basically could have like a 16 it'd be like 5, 4, and 5, so it'd be 14 initiative, which means that if you roll, you'd have to roll a 5 or even on a natural 1, because you can't critical fail your initiative. If you roll a nat 1, that's still a 15. That's still more than almost anyone can get with, like, if you're not a dex-based class, you practically, you get a 6 and you're at a 20. If you're in double digits, you're getting 24 plus. Like, that's just incredible. Also, on top of that, like, it by itself is pretty good on adding your wisdom modifier, but you also, at the start of your first turn of combat, your walking speed increases by 10 feet, which lasts until the end of that turn. If you take the attack action on that turn, you can make 1 additional weapon attack as part of that action. If that attack hits, the target deals an extra d8 of the weapon's damage type, which means that on the first turn of combat, and this doesn't say that it has to be, the enemy you have to attack, or, before an enemy's attack, it can be just your first turn of combat, because there are some rogue things where it's if the enemy hasn't had their turn yet, you gain benefits. This is just your first turn. You can move faster, and if you take the attack action, you get a second attack, which if that second attack hits, it will deal an extra d8, which means that at level 3, you'll get, on the first turn of combat, you'll deal 1d8 of damage, and then you'll deal an extra d8, 2d8 of damage, which that stacks super fast. And also, first turn of combat getting 2 hits at level 3, and at level 5 on first turn of combat you get 3 attacks. Super strong, and an extra d8 of the weapon's damage type. That's just great. I mean, yeah, is this only a first turn of combat thing, so you're amazing the first turn of combat and then later on you start falling off a little bit? Yeah, but this is also a level 3 ability, so it's not like this is supposed to be the thing that's like able to stretch out for the rest of the world or something like that. It is supposed to be extremely beneficial early game and then fairly beneficial late game. But then this part is what's beneficial the whole time, as you're increasing your initiative order. If you can increase how much of your bonuses to your initiative roll, it's incredible at that point. Next up is Umbral Sight. You gain Dark Vision out to a range of 30 feet. If you already have Dark Vision from your race, its range increases by 30 feet. You are also adept at evading creatures that rely on Dark Vision. While in darkness, you are invisible to any creature that relies on Dark Vision to see you in that darkness. So you also kind of get like a little bit of rogue ability right here in the end there, where you can be invisible to creatures who need Dark Vision to see you in the dark. Really good there, as stealth is always a really good thing to have, especially as a ranger. And you get Dark Vision. Which, yes, a lot of races naturally do, but you can increase it to you can increase it by 30 feet if you already have it, which most creatures I think are 30. There might be a few that are more, and it gets to increase by 30, or you just naturally get 60 feet of it. That's pretty good for a 3rd level ability, I'd say. At 7th level, you gain Iron Mind. You have honed your ability to resist the mind-altering powers of your prey. You gain proficiency in wisdom saving throws. If you already have this proficiency, you instead gain proficiency in intelligence or wisdom or charisma saving throws, your choice. So you gain an extra proficiency. I always say that's really good to gain extra proficiencies in a saving throw, which is even better. And it's wisdom, which is one of the most common ones that you have to be making. It's like Dex. It's probably, I think it's like Dex, Wisdom, Intelligence are the three most common, and then it's Charisma. I mean, Constitution might be up there, but I don't think it's above Intelligence or Wisdom. So it probably is, number 3 right here for Wisdom. And if you already have it for some odd reason, then you can get Intelligence or Charisma at that point, which means that you'd be proficient in Strength, Dex, and Wisdom, or Strength, Dex, Wisdom, and Intelligence or Charisma. You can be making almost any saving throw because proficiency just helps out so much, and that's just a really strong ability, honestly. And also isn't saying like proficient, I get like in a certain area, like for a certain reason. Like, blink has to happen for you to have advantage against it, or to have a proficiency against it. You just are proficient in Wisdom. And, yeah, it's pretty good. It's excellent, I would say. Next up at 11th level is Stalker's Flurry. You learn to attack with such unexpected speed that you can turn a miss into another strike. Once on each of your turns when you miss with a weapon attack, you can make another weapon attack as part of the same action. So, this is basically just saying that if you miss, once per turn, if you miss, you can, in a sense, gain an extra attack because you missed once per turn. So it's basically you shoot your first arrow, it misses, you can immediately shoot a second arrow as the same action. So this isn't action 2 of the attack action or something. This is a second shot that you can do. So you can potentially miss the first one, use this ability to shoot a second arrow, use the extra attack to shoot a third arrow, and then use Dread Ambusher on the first turn of combat to shoot a fourth arrow. Or you can wait until, if it's your first turn of combat, you probably, want to wait until you use Dread Ambusher, so if that one misses, you can get a second attack, which would technically count as Dread Ambusher. So, yeah, actually pretty good, because you get, more, basically you have advantage on a roll in a pseudo advantage in a sense. And at 15th level, the capstone of the subclass is Shadowy Dodge. You can dodge in unforeseen ways with wisps of supernatural shadow around you. Whenever a creature makes an attack roll against you and doesn't have advantage on the roll, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage. You must use this feature before you know the outcome of the roll. So it is pretty good. Could there be a little bit more to it? Yes, but at the same time, imposing disadvantage without a range restriction, so it can be against a spell attack against you. So there's no range restriction, which is really good. No, attack type, so it's not like if a physical attack, it doesn't specify whether it's physical, ranged, or melee, range, or magic. It can be any of them. They just have to attack you, and you can use your action to impose disadvantage before the roll happens. It's pretty good. A little bit more could have been added, maybe, but still, actually, in the end, I'd say it's great. Getting to impose disadvantage is kind of cool. Getting to get a pseudo advantage on the attack, really good. Proficiency in Wisdom saving throw, fantastic. Gaining Dark Sight if you don't already have it, or increasing it, good. Becoming invisible to creatures who need dark vision to see you in the dark, good. Allowing you to gain a lot of benefits from this portion of it, and then getting to add your Wisdom modifier to your initiative roll, fantastic. And Disguise Self, Rupture is alright, Fear is great, and Greater Invisibility is great, and you probably won't get to Seeming because majority of campaigns end before you get to the level, 18, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Not too often that you get to those. Even 16 you don't get to too often, depending on the campaign. But all in all, yeah, definitely here. Next up is the Horizon Walker, which you'll get some magic with it. Your spells are Protection from Good and Evil at 3rd, Misty Step at 5th, so already off to a really good start. Haste, off to a God tier start if you get Haste, Banishment, and Teleportation Circle. Wow. Some pretty good spells, actually, for what you're getting here. Detect Portal at 3rd level as well. You gain the ability to magically sense the presence of a planar portal. As an action, you detect the distance and direction to the closest planar portal within a mile of you. Once you use this feature, you can't do it until you take a short or long rest. See the planar travel section in Chapter 2 of the DM's Guide for examples of planar portals. I'm pretty sure this is the character's whole shtick is that he wants to find portals and do stuff with creatures who are traveling here through portals. So I can already tell, more likely than not, he's going into nice, because he is going to be like a perfect half and half. Oh, he's going to be going to true neutral, because he easily, if you're in a campaign, just right off the bat, from what I remember, if I'm remembering correctly, in the right campaign, if you're actually doing like a portal campaign, God, he's a legendary. He's going to be like the number one guy to bring. Same with the Oath Breaker. If you're in an undead campaign where you have some undead with you, great. Fighting against undead, terrible. If you're in a campaign where there's a lot of portals, legendary and great. If you're in a campaign where that basically never happens, trash. But we'll see. I mean, right off the bat, that just doesn't do too much in most campaigns. Also, though, you gain Planar Warrior, which at 3rd level, you learn to draw on the energy of the multiverse to augment your attacks. As a bonus action, choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The next time you hit that creature on this turn, with a weapon attack, all damage dealt by the attack becomes force damage, least resisted damage type in the game, by the way, and the creature takes an extra 1d8 force damage from the attack. Extra damage, and it's basically not going to be resisted. And technically, because most creatures, like this is really good too, because if you don't have a magic bow, most creatures are just resistant to non-magical slashing, bludgeoning, and piercing damage. This is now force damage instead of piercing damage, so you can ignore that part, which is really good. And when you reach 11th level, it's an extra 2d8. So that means that your bow is going to deal 1d8 force damage on average. You're then going to add an extra 1d8 and later on extra 2d8. So you're basically dealing 2 or 3d8 force damage to an enemy. If you call them out with your bonus action, that is, of course. So you have to go bonus action, calling this guy out, shoot him with my bow. Pretty good. I like it. Could there be a little bit more? Maybe, but honestly, just that is extremely strong. Next up is Ethereal Step at 7th level. You learn to step through the ethereal plane. As a bonus action, you can cast the Etherealness spell with this feature without expending a spell slot, but the spell ends at the end of your current turn. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. I actually don't know etherealness. I think that you just step into the ethereal realm, which means that you can't be damaged, but you also can't be hit, if I'm not mistaken. But I think you can end it. I think that basically what you should be doing is just... No, it's at the end of the current turn. So it's when it comes back to your turn. It lasts until... But the spell ends at the end of the current turn. So I guess that means that if you want to be immune for that turn, or if you need to use it to, outside of combat, you can walk through a wall, I guess? But if the spell ends at the end of the current turn, would mean that it ends at the end of your turn, I think is how that's phrased. Or is it until your turn comes back? A little confusing on the wording. DM's discretion, however you want it to be phrased and used, use it that way. But if it is until the end, the start of your next turn, essentially, super strong, as you can shoot a couple of times. If you're getting into a really hot mess, you can shoot your 2 times because you have extra attack by this time, and then you can go into the ethereal plane and just get out of there. Or if this does only work on the current turn, you can still do the exact same thing, and you'll just be able to get out of there. But if it works until the start of your next turn, then you can get out of there, and you also can't be attacked until your next turn. It's pretty good, I would say, if that's how it's worded. No matter what, it's actually pretty good. But I guess it all depends on the wording, how you want to take it. But you do get it back at a short or long rest, which is nice to get it back at a short rest. Next is Distant Strike. You gain the ability to pass between the planes in the blink of an eye. When you take the attack action, you can teleport up to 10 feet before each attack to an unoccupied space you can see. If you attack at least 2 different creatures with the action, you can make 1 additional attack with it against the 3rd creature. So that actually is extremely strong, and I guess I remember this class a lot differently. I thought he had a lot more things to do with trying to find portals and creatures that come from another dimension. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, or maybe that's what it was in Unearthed Arcana, and I guess they changed it. Because honestly, he's extremely good. Other than the very first ability, the Detect Portal, that's whatever. But no, I mean the ability to, you get extra damage here, and it turns into force damage, really strong. You get to cast Etherealness, the wording can make it a little bit better depending, but even if you don't choose the stronger version of the wording, it is still, pretty strong, as it's basically a get out of dodge, a get out of jail free card at that point. And then getting to use your actions to teleport around. You can attack, move 10 feet anywhere. It doesn't have to get closer it doesn't say closer to an enemy or something. It's teleport 10 feet, so you can shoot a bow, teleport 10 feet back, shoot your bow, teleport 10 feet back. Because it's two different targets you're locked onto, you can shoot a third creature, spreading out your damage pretty well. Or you can do the call out ability, and you can, the call out thing to do force damage, which now is 2d8, so you can do 3d8 of damage potentially, teleport 3d8 of damage for free. Also, it doesn't have a specific direction, which means that you could go up. Like, you can't go down, obviously, because it might be underground at that point, but you could teleport into a tree. You could just shoot, teleport upwards, shoot, teleport towards that tree, and now you're inside of a tree, and you're protected a little bit more. It's actually pretty cool. I like it. And lastly, you gain Spectral Defense at 15th level as the capstone of this subclass. Your ability to move between planes enables you to slip through the planar boundaries to lessen the harm done to you during battle. When you take damage from an attack, you can use your reaction to give yourself resistance to all of that attack's damage on this turn. So, usually on this turn means until your next turn. So I guess the phrasing on this guy, it says current turn, and this is on this turn. Wording. So DMs can choose however they want it to be worded. I would say that is the current turn until it becomes your next turn is how that's phrased, but that's just me. So this is basically just saying that it's super strong, as you basically, if you're hit by if you're fighting multiple enemies and multiple of those enemies are going to be doing the exact same thing and you have a couple of them on you, you can basically use your reaction to gain resistance to that damage type. And this isn't a limited per day or per short rest. And I always say per day, but I mean per long rest, but usually you only get one long rest per day, realistically. But this is extremely strong, as you, giving yourself resistance as a reaction basically means that you're halving the damage, and if you're hit by an attack that deals 2 separate damage types, you're resistant to 2 separate damage types, which means that if you're hit by somebody has a sword of fire, a flame sword or something, they're going to deal slashing damage to you and fire damage to you, which means that for the rest of this turn, you're now resistant to both fire and slashing damage. So if somebody then throws flames at you and then hits you with a sword, you're still resisting those until your next turn. So, pretty strong in my opinion. I certainly enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, because I was thinking that this was a different class, and I like it a little bit more because the Gloom Stalker focuses a little bit more on the early game stuff, but Horizon Walker can focus late game. And I don't mean early game, late game as in leveling, because Gloom Stalker does focus a little early and a little bit less in late, and Horizon Walker focuses all the way around. Both of them are extremely good. You also get haste as a Horizon Walker. That's another reason why I'm putting this one above, is you get haste. So, but not that much more, because Gloom Stalker gives you... No, Fey Wanderer is the one that gives you the Misty Step abilities. But yeah, Horizon Walker, that's actually a lot better than I thought it would be. But I also was thinking of a different subclass. Or its original one, if you remember, if you know what I'm talking about. I used to think it was a lot worse. For the Hunter, which is the one that you get normally, the Hunter that is detailed at the end of the class description. Yeah, so the Hunter is just the normal one that you get the default Ranger. You get Hunter's Prey, which you can choose Colossus Slayer. Your tenacity can wear down the most potent foes. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, the creature takes an extra 1d8 if it's below its hit point maximum. You can deal this extra damage once per turn. So this is basically just saying that once the enemy is no longer at max HP, you can start dealing an extra d8 to it. So pretty good, as this will be good at, as long as you're not the very first person in combat, because you won't be able to deal this right off the bat. Well, I mean, you can deal it once you get to level 5 and later, because then you can damage it with the first attack, damage it with the second attack. The second attack is the one that can get this buff. Therefore, you only did it once per turn. Pretty good. An extra D8 is a decent bit of damage. Giant Killer. When a larger creature within 5 feet of you hits or misses you with an attack, you can use your reaction to attack that creature immediately after its attacks, provided that you can see the creature. Issue with this one is they have to be within 5 feet of you. On average, a ranger is using a bow and arrow. If you're within 5 feet of an enemy, you have disadvantage, which means that you'd use your reaction to attack them at disadvantage only if they also are large or larger creatures. Definitely wouldn't choose that one. Colossus Slayer seems pretty good though. And then Horde Breaker. Once on each of your turns when you make your weapon attack, you can make another attack with the same weapon against a different creature that is within 5 feet of the original target and within range of your weapon. So that basically is just saying that the enemies have to be standing next to each other for you to hit both of them as long as your first attack hits. No, when you make your weapon attack. So it doesn't even need a hit. So you need to just choose an enemy, and then another enemy has to be standing next to that one that you can then make the attack against that one. Colossus Slayer seems like the best one, as you can constantly be getting this damage. This one is just bad. And Horde Breaker is a kind of niche situation, as you have to have 2 enemies that are standing next to each other in order to get, which doesn't happen all that often, especially later on, or if you're facing one enemy. This one, you're just consistently getting an extra damage, which is great. At 7th level, you gain Defensive Tactics, which you can do Escape the Horde. Opportunity attacks against you are made with disadvantage. Excellent. Anytime you can have disadvantage, give enemies disadvantage is great. And then Multi-Attack Defense. When a creature hits you with an attack, you gain a +4 bonus to AC against all subsequent attacks made by that creature for the rest of the turn. It's strong. Like, it's good. Especially because, your DM shouldn't be metagaming and going, oh, I hit you with the first one. Oh, I'm just going to leave you now and go attack another character who doesn't have this effect. So usually, like, an enemy who has multi-attack will hit you once, hit you twice, hit you with a third attack, depending on how many multi-hits they can do. Or just in general, if an enemy is, you're fighting a fighter or something who gets, extra attack, especially later on, they're getting 2, 3, 4 attacks in one turn. And haste, stuff like that. This kind of counters it, as your AC is probably already going to be high as your dex is naturally kind of high, so you have like a 17-18 range for AC depending on what you're wearing at this point. You might have like a +1 leather. So getting, naturally 17 or 18 and getting that buff to 21 or 22, and even later on, depending on how high your AC is, getting +4 AC is pretty good. I like it. Maybe still a little niche. Escape the Horde seems a little good. It's still maybe better because it allows for opportunity attacks that have disadvantage against you, but increasing your AC against an enemy who can hit you multiple times, both are actually really good, I would say. And Steel Will, you have advantage on save those against being frightened. All of them are actually extremely good. I like all of them. My choice, personally, it kind of depends a little bit on the campaign. Because if you know that you're in a campaign, if you're in a campaign where, there's like usually like a war campaign where it's like you're fighting again, like you're never fighting one big enemy who hits a whole lot, and it's like you're fighting like 6 enemies who all have 1 attack each, escape the Horde. But if you're playing a campaign where, you're attacking one enemy, it's 1 or 2 big named enemies who want to attack all the time in one turn, this one is excellent. And then Steel Will, it's good, but like just like advantage against frightened condition is good, but against the other two, I think you might want to choose for like a feat to give you immunity to this, or advantage to this, or even immunity at that point. I think it would be better to choose something else. I think maybe Escape the Horde, but hard to tell. They're both really good. At 11th level, you gain multi-attack, which you can do volley. You can use your action to make a range attack against any number of creatures within 10 feet of a point you can see within your weapon's range. You must have the ammunition for each target as normal, and you make a 7 attack roll for each target. So this is kind of in the same... To me, it's in the same vein as Horde Breaker. How often are you going to have like a group of enemies that is in a cluster of 10 feet, essentially? Like, is it a little bit bigger? Yes, but it probably isn't going to be too often that you'll be able to like group attack. And at that point, you probably want to just try to hit a couple of individual enemies and like your wizard or sorcerer or like your spellcaster just mass like AoE damage it while you like mass damage one particular enemy. Or you can do whirlwind attack, which is you can use your action to make a melee attack against any number of creatures within 5 feet of you with a 7 attack roll for each. Neither one of these are good, honestly. I mean, I guess out of them, probably volley, because you could do, at least then it is a little bit larger, and it just means that you have to, it still just use your action to make it against it. This is a volley attack action, I think is probably how it's properly phrased, which means that, you can do volley, shoot 3 enemies, let's say, and then you still have your second action, your second attack during that action, which means that you can shoot a second thing. I would assume this is probably how this would probably be phrased, at least how I phrased it, because it is saying a ranged attack. So I, as a DM, would phrase it that you could do volley or whirlwind, and then you can still make your extra attack as part of the attack action. But your DM might not want that to happen. But you could not do volley and then a second volley. It is 1 volley per turn. It's alright. Lastly, you get Superior Hunter's Defense. You get Evasion. When you are subjected to an effect, such as a Red Dragon's Fiery Breath or a Lightning Bolt spell, that allows you to make a Dex saving throw to take only half damage, you instead take no damage if you succeed on it, and half damage if you fail. Excellent. When would you not want to take Evasion? Stand Against the Tide. When a hostile creature misses you with a melee attack, you can use your action to force that creature to repeat the same attack against another creature other than itself of your choice. This is once again another one of those that enemy needs to be standing next to another enemy for them to hit them. It's not too often that enemies will be clumped up to be able to do that. Lastly is Uncanny Dodge. You can use your reaction to half the damage you take against an attack. Pretty good. Evasion. That's the only option here. You take Evasion. Is this good? Yeah, Evasion, really good. The multi-attack, kind of bad. Defensive tactics, good. It's just choosing one is pretty hard. And there's also only one option for Hunter's Prey. They really could have done a lot more. As a starting off thing, good. And it's nice, it is. But, even in the right campaign, because, it's in the right campaign, when you're fighting, a multiple enemies, you can do Horde Breaker and, against the Horde and Stand Against the Tide, all these, and Volley, and, all these things to hit multiple enemies and dodge multiple enemies and get out of the way of, multiple attacks. But then the thing is you could just be a Horizon Walker and go into the Ethereal Plane to get out of harm's way, not needing to worry about even putting disadvantage and potentially getting hit. You can just get out of there. Or you can attack and just teleport away. Or be a Fey Wanderer and just Misty Step away. Or Beastmaster and just have your beast help you in the issues with the Horde and stuff. And Gloom Stalker just... Really talked my way down after I kind of mentioned every other class and all of their abilities. Yeah. And Hunter doesn't give you magic, no. Yeah. Wow, I really talked my way down from Hunter, huh? Alright, on to the next one though. We have Monster Slayer, where you do get magic this time. At 3rd level, you get Protection from Good and Evil. 5th is Zone of Truth. Magic Circle at 9. Banishment at 13. Hold Monster at 17. An alright start. Zone of Truth is hit or miss. Magic Circle is alright. Banishment is great. Hold Monster is great. So you're kind of more of a late game for your spells. You get Hunter's Sentence, which at 3rd level, you gain the ability to peer at a creature and magically discern how best to hurt it. As an action, choose one creature you can see within 60 feet of you. You immediately learn whether the creature has any damage immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities, and what they are. If the creature is hidden from divination magic, you sense that it has no damage immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities. Wow. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier minimum of once, getting them all back at a long rest. Wow. You learn whether the creature has immunity, resistance, or vulnerability. So it's not even all of them. Your DM, I'm sure like the player gets to choose which one they want. It can't just be like, oh yeah, they have no immunities, because then most creatures aren't immune to stuff. But if they're protected, if they're hidden from divination magic, it just straight up doesn't work. You only get to know one information, and you get a very limited amount of times you can use this, and it doesn't come back at a short rest. It comes back at a long rest. And it takes your action. If it took your bonus action, so you could bonus action and then still take your attack on the same turn, it'd be good, but ooh, I'm not liking it so far. At 3rd level, you gain Slayer's Prey as well. You can focus your ire on one foe, increasing the harm you inflict on it. I'm liking the sounds of this. As a bonus action, you designate one creature you can see within 60 feet of you as the target of this feature. The first time each turn that you hit that target with a weapon attack, it takes an extra d6 damage from the weapon. This benefit lasts until you finish a short or long rest. It ends early if you designate a different creature. So you get to use this as much as you want. It's basically a second Hunter's Mark. And same as Hunter Mark, it takes your bonus action. As like a free second Hunter's Mark, if you run out of spell slots, you basically can still Hunter Mark things. You just don't gain like the tracking benefits of Hunter's Mark. It's alright. An extra d6 is alright. I like it. At 7th level, you gain Supernatural Defense. You gain extra resilience against your prey's assaults on your mind and body. Whenever the target of your Slayer's Prey forces you to make a saving throw, and whenever you make an ability check to escape that target's grapple, add a d6 to your roll. You're probably never going to be grappled by enemies, especially because not a lot of enemies want to grapple. They kind of want to just hit you, unless it's a snake. But I don't know if that counts as grapple or not. That one's alright. The saving throw one is good. You just have to put it on a spellcaster at that point, because how often there's not a lot of things that for martial ways to cause this other than tripping or something. It's also just the ability to escape the target's grapple. So it doesn't even give you the d6 to resist the grapple. It's only to escape it, which means they have to get you first. And if we're being called Supernatural Defense, I thought it was going to give you resistance from just that one character's attack, which when you resist one opponent's attack all the time, that's actually really good and not super strong, not overpowered strong. But the fact that it is just a d6 on saving throws and escaping the grapple, hopefully late game saves it, because it spells a very late game, especially with Banishment and Hold Monster. So far the only thing I'm really liking is free and unlimited Hunter's Mark, this is actually practically a synonym of Hunter's Mark. It's Slayer's Prey. Next up is at 11th is Magic User's Nemesis. You gain the ability to thwart someone else's magic. When you see a creature casting a spell or teleporting within 60 feet of you, you can use your reaction to try to magically foil it. The creature must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC, or its spell or teleport fails and is wasted. Once you use this, you can't get it again until a short or long rest. Your spell save DC is not going to be that high, as it'll be 8 plus proficiency plus wisdom. So you'll have a +3 still at this time, probably. So you'll be at a 14, or you'd be a 14 or 15, which, to be fair, is a decent amount. But a lot of spellcasters probably will have a decent wisdom, or it could even be also proficient in wisdom saving throws, which can kind of counteract that, because if you're getting a +6 and they're getting a +6, you start at 8 for the base. So all they have to do is roll an 8 or higher, not even a 10 or higher, which means that they have the advantage on the dice, as they only need to get 8. They have to get 8 through 20 rather than 10 through 20. Is it good? Yes. Just a little bit more would be a little bit better, as like your spellcasters can just use counterspell to do this. Lastly, you get Sluggish Counter at 15th level as the capstone of this subclass. You gain the ability to counterattack when your prey tries to sabotage you. If the target of your Slayer's prey forces you to make a saving throw, you can use your action to make one weapon attack against the quarry. You make this attack immediately before making the save throw. If your attack hits, your save automatically succeeds, in addition to the attack's normal effects. That part is really strong, because you can use your reaction to damage the enemy. It seems like when it says Slayer's Prey, you really should be called, rather than Slayer's Prey, like, what are you called? You're called a Monster Slayer? Why? This has, like, nothing to do with monsters. This has all to do with countering magic users. You should be, like, the anti-magic hunt, like, an anti-magic name. Like, I don't know, I can't think of something off the top of my head, but, like, you're, like, the class should have had some reference to being anti-magic, because there's no, like, you're dealing more damage against, non-humanoids, you're dealing, you have extra abilities against stuff like that, but it's like, everything's against magic. This one is really strong, though, as you can use your reaction to deal damage. You also can just automatically succeed at saving throws, which is always really good. So if it's something to take control of you, cause fear against you, a dex saving throw to resist the damage, constitution saving throw to resist poison or taking damage, banishment, you can just straight up not be banished. And the attack's normal effects also still proc, so any normal, like, you can still damage and get any additional benefits from that. I'd say it, as a 15th level ability, pretty good. I just wish that everything else was a bit better, because this one, not too good. Like, there could be a little bit more to it to help benefit you. Maybe if it was a number of times, like, your wisdom a number of times, like, keep this right here, like the shorter long rest part, but just add that you can use it an amount of times equal to your wisdom modifier, a minimum of once. So you could at least use it like 3 or 4 times before the short rest to be able to stop them from leaving or casting magic against the spell doesn't have to be against you for this one. It just has to be teleport, or if they try to cast a spell, you can counter it essentially. I just wish that if you had more uses of it, I would love this. But you only get one. I still like it, but it could be better. And then this one is just bad. This one is just... It's just so-so, honestly. So, and then... This one is great. It's just a second Huntress mark. And then this one is... It's honestly ZZZs for me. Better than Hunter solely because you get magic. It's like borderline B or borderline, like B, A, S tier. It's like borderline B. It just needs a little bit more. Yeah, that's about it. It just needs something else. Lastly, you get Swarm Keeper. I think, honestly, before I go on, what it needed is at that 3rd level ability, it, rather than getting to know weaknesses of them or like their strength and stuff, because then none of the rest of the class has nothing to do with those. Like, if the class was all focused around that, like, oh, you learn the enemy's things. If you know an enemy's weakness, then you can ignore an enemy's resistance. If you know their resistances, you can ignore, or you can cause your weapons to start dealing the enemy's weakness if you know the enemy's weakness is. So it kind of like builds around that. Or just have the first one also be an anti-magic ability. Like, I don't know what another good 3rd level, like, the level 7 ability, if that was replaced in the level 3 slot, and then you just made a new level 7 ability to also still be anti-magic, it'd be really good. but unfortunately it falls off kind of because of that, and it doesn't have quite all the same buffs what it could. So the last one, which I think this has to be like the newest one, unless I shouldn't have any. Let's turn off homebrew and see if this is homebrew or not. Nope, this is legit. This is an actual thing, right? Yep, it's an actual thing. So that's pretty cool. So lastly, we get the Swarm Keeper, which has to be the newest one because I don't remember this one being around. At 3rd level, you gain Gathered Swarm. A swarm of intangible nature spirits has bonded itself to you and can assist you in battle. Until you die, the swarm remains in your space, crawling on you or flying and skittering around you within your space. You determine its appearance, or you generate its appearance by rolling on the swarm appearance table. Honestly, that is a terrifying sight to just see. Like, you're constantly in effect of this when you're in the, like, once you, like, enter battle, these insects just magically appear swarming around you. Zzz, just unnerving. Just unsettling to the appearance, actually. And then once on each of your turns, you can use the swarm to assist you in one of the following ways immediately after you hit a creature with an attack. The attack's target takes an extra 1d6 piercing damage from the swarm. Fantastic. The attack's target must succeed on a strength saving throw against your spell save DC or be moved by the swarm up to 15 feet horizontally in a direction of your choice. Strength saving throws are very uncommon, especially if you're like trying to do this against like non-physical combatants, like not a fighter or like non-heavyset characters. So like you're starting to be like already instantly you're starting to be like anti-magic again, like I shouldn't say anti-magic, I should say you're like, you want to target the squishy characters right off the bat. That's what this is kind of saying. Or you are moved by the swarm 5 feet horizontally in a direction of your choice. So either extra damage, move an enemy 15 feet, which potentially could be off the edge or into harm's way. And lastly, it's move yourself 5 feet. I like it. It's actually really cool. And flavor-wise, for what you can make it look like, I like it. I give like a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. Next up is your magic. You get Fairy Fire and Mage Hand. Mage Hand, I mean, if you're getting Mage Hand, that's incredible. You're also getting Fairy Fire, which is really good actually. Web is pretty good. Gaseous Form, nice. Arcane Eye, pretty good. And of course, Insect Plague. Why wouldn't you get Insect Plague? All pretty good. Yeah, no, just all really good. You're getting 2 classes at 3rd level once you choose this, and Mage Hand is one of them. And Fairy Fire. I mean, yeah, I'm already, just from that, I'm already putting it above Monster Slayer and Hunter. At 7th level, you gain Writhing Tide. You can condense part of your swarm into a focused mass that lifts you up. As a bonus action, you gain a flying speed of 10 feet and can hover. This effect lasts for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you gain them all back at a long rest. That's what Monster Slayer needed. This is what Monster Slayer needed. Like the other one is, yeah, you get it back at a short rest, but you only use it once. You need to be able to use it multiple times before you need to take that rest, because you want to be able to do it a whole bunch in the middle of combat or something. This one, you can fly around and hover for a minute, you know, up to a maximum of 6 times late game, and probably like 3 right now, and realistically 4 or 5 by the end of most campaigns. That's incredible. Also, this could potentially save your life, because you get pushed off something. You fall for that turn. It comes to your turn. You proc this as the bonus action. You're now just stopped falling because you're technically flying, and then you can just get back up to the top within a couple of turns, depending on how far you fell. I mean, also giving yourself flying is always good. I don't know how many times I have to say that giving yourself flying is incredible. Also, you can fly 10. You're giving yourself a flight of 10 feet. Technically, while flying, you'd be able to. I mean, it's horizontal movement, so you can't keep pushing yourself up with this part of it, because it has to be horizontally. But that also means that that for the very first initial cast of this, you can put yourself up 10 feet, and then you can shove yourself backwards 10 feet. Strong, guys. I love it. Next up is Mighty Swarm. Your gathered swarm grows mightier in the following ways. The damage is now a d8. If the creature fails its saving throw against being moved, you can also cause the swarm to knock the creature prone. So you shove them 15 up to 15 feet in horizontal movement, and then you get to just sweep the leg. That's really good. And when you are moved by Gathered Swarm, it gives you half cover until the start of your next turn. Wow. So not only can you like get yourself a little bit of movement away, but you're now under half cover. So if you're fighting, so you really are anti-squishy, because a lot of squishy characters are the spellcasters and stuff. You can basically target the spellcaster a whole bunch, and then like the D8, good for everyone. This part, good against the squishier characters, and range characters on average are squishier. And then this one is good against the melee combatants, as you can shove them away from you, and now you can knock them prone, which most creatures have a movement speed of 30. You shove them back 15 feet, knock them prone, half the movement to get up, 15 movement. Like, they wasted all their movement, and you use your movement to get away from them. That's just incredible, honestly. And lastly, you get Swarming Dispersal at 15th level, the capstone of this subclass. You can discorporate... Wait, is that how you pronounce that? You can discorporate, into your swarm, avoiding danger. That just sounds incredible. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to give yourself resistance to that damage. You vanish into your swarm and then teleport to an unoccupied space that you can see within 30 feet of you when you reappear with the swarm. And you can use this... Once again, you can use this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, getting them all back at a long rest. So you will still take damage, so it's not like you just, before taking damage, you just teleport away and nothing personnel kit or something. You resist the damage, and it's not a single, one thing. It could be, you're supposed to take 2 damage types, fire and slashing, like a fire sword. You resist the full damage, like it's uncanny dodge, but then you also get yourself out of dodge, which means that in this scenario, you shoot your bow, you hit the melee combatant that's getting close to you. This shoves them back 15 feet and knocks them prone because they failed their save. You then, you're hit, I should say. You're hit by them. You get out of dodge, and they've already used all their movement speed. Because you shot them back, they moved 15 feet back. They have to stand up with 15 movement speed, walk back up to you, hit you one time. You now teleport 30 feet away. They don't have any more movement speed, so they couldn't even get to an ally of yours unless an ally was next to you. So you've just completely avoided all of their attacks and thwarted their whole plan of attacking you and anybody else because they didn't have any movement speed left. Definitely better than Beastmaster. On the level of Gloom Stalker, not on the level of Horizon Walker, on the level of Gloom Stalker though. Getting to resist the damage and move yourself away a couple of times per long rest. Getting to fly temporarily for a limited for a minute, and you can you get this a couple of times per long rest. Getting to deal a d8, move people around and knock them prone, move yourself around and give yourself half cover. So the magic is Fairy Fire and Mage Hand fantastic. Web is pretty good. Gaseous Form is underrated, honestly. Archaeon is alright. Insect Plague is great. Oh, what's Gloom Stalker again? Gloom Stalker is Disguise Self is good. Fear, greater invisibility. Move faster, deal more damage on the first turn combat, adding your wisdom to initiative. Gives you dark vision, and dark vision reliant creature can't see you in the dark. Wisdom saving throw proficiency. When you miss with the attack, you can make another attack with the same exact action. You can impose disadvantage before you're hit. I would put it just above Gloom Stalker, but not past Horizon Walker, just because you get to do everything constantly. Like, Gloom Stalker is kind of more of this is a reaction. This is a reaction to only disimpose disadvantage. You cannot use it to cancel out advantage. And you can use it as much as you want. It's just a reaction. Stalker's Flurry is pretty good, but you can do it once a turn, which is pretty good. You get the extra chance to hit them. Becoming proficient in Wisdom saving throws is great. The magic is alright. The Umbral Sight is whatever. The Dread Ambusher is great. Man, I think I put them on the same level, like the same number. It's just, it depends on your play style. So yeah, honestly, I put them as pretty much the same. Like if this is A tier, like a solid like S tier stuff is like above 100%. Great is like the 90 to 99 range, and then 80 to 89, 70 to 79, 60 to 69, and then this is just 0 to 59. And then these ones just don't exist anymore. If you're wondering why these don't know enough, it's not that I don't know enough, it's just that they just don't exist anymore, or that they had their name changed when they came to D&D Beyond. But yeah, this is where I'm putting them. I was going to say Gloom Stalker and the other one, and Sworn Keeper, I probably put on like Horizon Walker 99. Like it just needs just something else to push it into Legendary, just a little bit. Maybe I just need to play it at some point, like run a Horizon Walker or something to really see it. But that's like a 99. A 99 just needs a little something, maybe a little bit of trial. And then Gloom Stalker and Swarm Keeper are like a solid like 95, 94. So, but yeah, that does it for this video. If you agree with what I've done with the Ranger and the rest of this list, as I've been doing this for a while, also a fairly long video. Usually I would have split this type of thing in half, but I just thought, I didn't think that I would take this long, because I didn't think I'd really like gossip about how much I forget. Like I love the Ranger, it's just I don't play him that much. I didn't expect it to go this long, so my bad for this being like an hour and 20 video. But hey, if you can go check this one out. It is Dungeons and Dragons Classes and Subclasses Tier List by Andy the Art. So go check out this list if you want to actually create it yourself. I'll be doing the Rogue hopefully next week at some point, and I will also try to get the overview of the Ranger out some point this week or on Sunday. But yeah, let me know whether you agree or disagree in the comments on what your list would look like so far, and with the Rangers especially. And but yeah, if you guys did enjoy the video, then consider hitting the like button and commenting down below what you guys did enjoy, so that I can continue doing it, to continue making the videos as well as I have been. If you guys didn't like the video, then go ahead and dislike it and comment down below what you didn't like, so that I may improve upon it to make the videos better for y'all. If you want to know when I upload, then the best way to know is by subscribing. Before I end it, actually, I just want to say I've started streaming on Twitch. Currently, what I'm streaming is a lot of Borderlands 2. If I can stream every day, then I definitely will stream every day. I don't know how likely that is, though. But I'm currently doing a Borderlands 2 Let's Play over there. I'm playing Gage. We ended off beating 2 more. I have beaten the Tinder Snowflake Headhunter, the Gluttony Gulch Headhunter, and the Hallowed Hollow Headhunter, and I have just gotten Sanctuary into the air, and I'm supposed to be heading to the fridge. That's why I'm in the main campaign. So if you want to watch that, then go follow me on Twitch. I am the same name over there as CodyBrave528 Games. You can also follow me on Twitter to get an update just saying, hey, I'm going live right now. CodyBrave528 on Twitter. I should not be CodyBrave528 Games. I don't think so, at least. You can tell because my profile pic on both of those, the profile pic on Twitch will be the same one here. The one on Twitter will be a profile pic that is drawn by my friend Jamie, who I've done a lot of videos with, and I've been on a lot of her videos and streams. So do check that out if you're interested in that. I will also be doing plenty of other stuff at some point, not just Borderlands 2. I just like playing Borderlands 2, and I want to play it right now. But yeah, now that does it for this video. If you want to know when I upload, the best way to know is to subscribe. But that does it for this video. Until next time. Bye, guys.